Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to join you here today at this Athletics Kenya side event at the Climate Action Hub. Athletics Kenya is taking a leading role in the world of sports through commitments to reduce 50% of its emissions by 2030 and reaching a net zero by 2040. In the words of Ban Ki-moon, we are the first generation to be able to end poverty and the last generation that can take steps to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. Future generations will judge us harshly if we fail to uphold our moral and historical responsibilities. It is in this spirit of upholding our moral and historical responsibilities that we gather here today to confront the reality of climate change as one of the pressing issues of our time. Ladies and gentlemen, as we deliberate on how to accelerate climate and air quality actions through athletics, I take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the organizers of this side event for championing climate and air quality actions by installing air quality sensors across the globe. In Kenya, for instance, they have installed air quality sensors in 5 sporting facilities across the country. The data from the sensors will enable us to put in measures to control air pollution around sporting facilities to ensure that our athletes train and compete in a clean environment. Excellencies, it is time to propel climate action beyond the historical commitments. The world needs to move with speed from words to action. The time to act is now. Now more than ever, the interlinkage between sport and climate change is evident through the carbon footprint from transportation, the construction and use of sporting infrastructure, and the supply chains for sporting equipment. However, while sport is regarded as a perpetrator and a casualty of climate change, it can play an important role in addressing the impacts of climate change. That is why the United Nations General Assembly in Resolution 75/18 recognizes sports as an enabler for sustainable development. But for us to achieve this, concerted effort from sports persons and sporting organizations is required. I am therefore pleased to inform that Athletics Kenya was the first out of the 214 World Athletics member federations to sign and commit to the Sports for Climate Action under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC. This framework calls on the sports community to jointly develop a climate action agenda for sports by promoting greater environmental responsibility, reducing overall climate impact, educating for climate action, promoting sustainable and responsible consumption, and advocating for climate action through communication. Our deliberations today should focus on implementation strategies and commitments for mitigation and adaptation. I therefore urge delegates to answer the following questions. First, how can we set ambitious targets and commitments to achieve net zero carbon emissions? Second, how can we promote climate action messages to raise climate awareness and activism among its fan bases? Third, how can we achieve climate reporting and oversight of carbon emissions? And lastly, how can governments develop policies and incentives for sport to become sustainable and promote sport as a tool to raise awareness about climate change? In conclusion, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with the clear implementation plans, we can harness the potential of sport in addressing climate change. I therefore call on athletics federations from other countries to join Athletics Kenya in championing the cause of climate change to ensure that future generations of athletes also have the chance to break world records in a clean and safe environment. On our part, the government of Kenya shall continue to support and encourage Athletics Kenya and other sports federations to commit and deliver on the climate agenda both in Kenya and globally. I wish you all the best in your engagements as the sporting world looks forward to the outcomes of this important event. Asanteni sana, shukran, merci beaucoup.